The SEC 8 or 9 game conversation is back, mostly because a friend of mine texted me about it and said, hey, what is the SEC doing with this? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. So I started calling around. And the debate over this thing, which has been raging for probably 3.5, 4 years now, has shifted again. And now it's reached a very logical point. And I think we can kind of pinpoint what's going to happen. So talked to some folks yesterday, and basically what I was told is the ADs in the SEC are waiting to see what the college football playoff format looks like in 2026 and beyond before they decide what they want to vote on for the 8 or 9 game thing. Essentially, if there are automatic bids, like that one proposal, which we think is the one that'll eventually pass, 14 teams, 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, 2 ACC, 2 Big 12, highest ranked of the other conferences, 1 at large. We think if that one passes, they'll go to 9 games. If not, they'll stay at 8, because basically they looked at the Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss situation last year and said they don't think the committee is considering strength of schedule. Now, Ari, you and I have had this discussion. We think they did, but the third loss was what knocked them out. Because let me ask you this:
It just can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I understand the grandstanding during the season to try to get teams in. I understand threatening that we're not going to schedule a certain way because of what's happening. But like, is there actually a fundamental misunderstanding of how this works to people in that position? Like, do they actually think that their strength of schedule hurt them? That is not.
All politics are local, Ari. And their thing is, because they're looking at it like you add an extra conference game, half the conference gets another loss. So that's why they're looking at it that way. But I talked to one of the people I talked to. It was an AD. Thought that it needs to go the automatic bid route because they're worried that if they don't go the automatic bid route, everybody's going to just dumb down their schedules. They were very concerned about what Matt Rule said. This person was very concerned about what Matt Rule said, where he's like, well, why would we schedule any good games out of conference? Because the concern is if you're just going by the loss column, people will just continue to try. And this person brought it back to the BCS. Like, you can watch the schedules get dumbed down after the BCS took the strength schedule component out. Schools responded to that by dumbing down their schedules. So if you want better games, you want incentives to play better games. But the question is, do you go as far as automatic bids for these leagues?
I want teams to dumb down their schedule and then be left out at the end because they don't have quality wins.
But I'm worried they won't.
Yeah, I mean, they might not. I mean, now with 12, for sure. I mean, it was certainly more. Here's the thing. If the Big Ten and the SEC want something to happen in the 26 and beyond playoff, I'm pretty sure they can get what they want. Here's the
difference. This point.
In the 12-team field, Andy, the teams that are in the 9 to 15 range are always going to be very similar. There are a lot of 10-2 teams out there. There are a lot of 9-3 teams out there. When it was a 4-team playoff, you either had to be a 1-loss team or an undefeated team, of which there were much fewer.
Right.
So when you get to the end of the road here, if you are being compared with 4 other teams with the same record, you will be left out if you don't have good wins. It's going to happen. You say you fear that they won't be, and some years they won't. But there are certainly years that even in Indiana from last year could have been left out if the SEC didn't beat up on
and that's the thing I think, because I think they were taking schedule strength into account, and that had Alabama or South Carolina or Ole Miss finished 10-2, they would have been ranked ahead of Indiana. Like, let's say Ole Miss does not lose in Gainesville, and they finish 10-2, they would have been 10-2, and Indiana would have been 11-1. But I bet Ole Miss would have been ranked ahead of Indiana.
Yeah. I think it's possible that they are 2 games away from being out. That's Alabama beating Oklahoma and Ole Miss not losing to Georgia. If that would have happened, Indiana would have been out.
To Florida, yeah, because Ole Miss beat Georgia. But yes,
Florida, not Georgia. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yes.
So I do think they considered it, but we'll see what happens. I don't know when this is going to come down exactly. Greg Sankey has said he wanted the SEC decision made before they have their spring meetings in Destin, which is at the end of this month. I don't know that that's going to happen because it sounds like they're waiting for the CFP to have a format, but the CFP has to have a format soon too. Like,
yeah,
the 2026 CFP, not the one that's happening this season, but the one that's happening next season happens in 19 months. Like, you got to have a format.
Yeah, it's we're getting there. We're getting close. So something's going to have to happen. But I just I don't know if the SEC is going to play itself by not going that route. But like SEC is never going to have a strength of schedule problem.
Well, here's my problem if they stay at 8. If they stay at 8, they have to do something different than what they were planning to do. Because what they were planning to do if they stayed at 8 was they're going to have 7 rotating opponents and 1 fixed opponent for every team. If that happens, Alabama, Tennessee, and Auburn, Georgia, which the SEC bent over backward to protect for decades, you're just saying that doesn't need to be played every year. That's not the one that bothers me, though. Texas and Texas A&M wouldn't play every year. That's the stupidest possible outcome.
Yeah.
You have to fix that. You have to figure out a way to have them play every year. If you're only going to stay at 8 games, figure it out.
Yeah.
And it may not be a perfectly round rotation. You may just have to mess with your schedules, make different little ad hoc schedules every 2 years. Figure it out.
Yeah, or just like start from scratch every year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Figure it out.
Yeah,
like Texas and Texas A&M have to play every year. And I would argue that Georgia and Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee have to play every year too. If you spent that long, if you made everybody else play boring ass schedules for that long for those games, then by God, they're important to you. So don't throw them out now.
Yep.
Producer River says, does that mean Red River is worth sacrificing annually? That's not going away. Yeah. Texas, Oklahoma is the one they'd keep. But
let's not forget, though, that it is possible for an SEC team's schedule to be called into question. And it didn't end up happening, but Texas was in a danger zone for a few weeks there last year. Let's not forget that.
Yes.
There were
Michigan beating Ohio State really helped Texas a lot, I think.
Yeah. There was some danger there for them. If things would have gone differently, they could have been left out as a 1-loss team. So, like, there are...
Right, and that's the thing with these massive conferences. As you learned last year, not all schedules in conferences are created equal. Indiana's schedule and Oregon's schedule were very different.
Mm-hmm.
Texas's schedule and Georgia's schedule were different. Texas's schedule and Oklahoma's schedule were different. So, like that, there's a lot of variation now when you have that many teams in a conference.
Yep.